What is up, guys? My name is OhDough and I hope you're doing good. In this video, I want to cover two Blaze Escalation builds when using the Aether Strikers because I feel like this weapon has been a lot more enjoyable in this current Blaze Escalation than it was in the previous Shock Escalation. So I figured I'd make a build video for these weapons first, and that's what I'm going to do today. Now, both builds I'll be covering are going to be really fast at getting decent kill times in Escalation. They're both going to be really solid picks. One will be a bit faster, for reasons I'll be explaining, and the other one will be more enjoyable if it's sort of going to suit your playstyle, but it's up to you what you pick. Now, the first build I'll be covering is one using the Titan's Crash Special, and that's because that is the best special for Strikers. Even after the nerf, it is still the best special. Does a lot of freaking damage. It's a solid pick. And then for the mod, I'm using the Cyclonic Strike Plate. And the weapon choice I'm picking, or the, I guess, weapon type? I'm not even sure how to classify that. I'm using the Boreas Aether Strikers, which are called the Brawlers of Boreas. It's pretty simple. These are a really solid pick for the Frost weapons, and they also give me some suitable cell slots to do what I'm trying to do with my Perk Economy. Now, as far as the armor goes, I'm using the Pangar headpiece. I keep saying Drask. I don't know why I keep saying Drask for that. But the Shroud chest piece, not Drask. Shroud chest piece, Boreas gloves, and Boreas feet. And all this gives me is some pretty good Perk Economy. And also, by the way, for my lantern choice, I'm using the Drask lantern. You can use whatever lantern you want to. It is up to you for preference. I typically like to use Drask because I enjoy having the instant cast being just extra damage. It's always fun hitting for really big numbers, and that is what I like to do. So that's pretty much why I'm picking this lantern. You can pick Ember Manifold or attack speed. You can do whatever you want. It's all preference. You do you, boo boo. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover the Perk Economy real quick because it is important, and this is what is going to be a really big factor of this build. So for my perks, I have +6 Iceborne, Knockout King, Overpower, and Rage, followed by +3 Berserker, Conditioning, Discipline, and Zeal. So, two of these cells I don't normally ever use in builds. One, because I never had it before. It's a new cell in this patch. But the first one I don't normally use in builds is going to be Knockout King. This is because it's just not that great in normal circumstances, because all it is giving you is extra stagger damage. All this cell does is gives you 30% more stagger damage, and if you dodge an attack, it makes it 100% extra stagger damage. So that's a pretty meaty attack if you're going for staggers. But it's important to note that staggers do not kill behemoths. All they do is stagger them. They don't contribute to actual real damage. It's just there to knock them out. That's important to understand. But this is helpful because in this escalation, pretty much the wow factor amp you can get is something called Lady Luck Barrage. This makes it so when you deal stagger damage, you can generate cannonballs or a reserve of cannonballs, and these cannonballs are fired every minute. And you can get up to some crazy, like a crazy amount for reserve. Like I think the most I've had so far was 100, and I know you can get a lot more than that pretty easily. So each cannonball I think does around 500 damage. I could be a bit wrong on that. I think it fires one cannonball and they do roughly 500 damage. So you can get a big reserve and do just a lot of damage. It's really enjoyable, and it is a little fun thing you can do to have to just mess around. But it's also super effective, and it makes Strikers and Hammer just a really great pick in this escalation. Just a really, really, really great pick all around because they are blunt weapons. They deal extra stagger damage. So that's a big thing. And another reason why I chose the Titan's Crash Special, aside from the fact that it's like the best damage special, it also does stagger damage. So that helps it helps contribute towards building these stacks of reserve for cannonballs. Now, for Zeal, which is the other cell I normally, I never had before, this increases the effectiveness of your lantern type ability. Nothing crazy, but I just like using it because it makes me hit for more damage. It makes my my biggest hits a little bit bigger than they normally would because it just makes my instant cast do a bit more damage if you're using the Drask Lantern like I am. And if you want, you can use Conduit or other things of that nature, but just understand you will only be at +3 in this build for your utility cell. So if you're in a group, like a 4-man group, and your friends are using Conduit +6, do not use Conduit +3 because that will overwrite their Conduit, and that won't lead to a very enjoyable experience for the whole gang. So make sure you're not messing up there. Now, the last thing in this build that's important to understand is your potions. There's actually another thing too, but like right now, your potions for this build, I would suggest going with your Assault Tonic to get more stagger damage. So if you do get Lady Luck Barrage, you're just pumping out as much stagger damage as you can, and that's the whole goal. And also Assault Tonic and Blitz Tonic. Those are pretty staple tonics in most builds. Now, it is pretty important to understand that the Lady Luck Barrage Amp is not guaranteed to sort of be available when doing escalation. Like, you have a chance to get it when you're doing escalation just like any other amp, but there's no guarantee you get it. And sometimes you might get it on the very last round, which isn't a bad thing, but it's better to have it sort of on the second round. Like, in a perfect world, you want to throw the Hunt round 1, Lady Luck Barrage round 2, and then probably Trogadoros Fury round 3, and followed by whatever else you sort of feel the need to have. That's what you really want to happen. But there's RNG to all this, so there's no guarantee. And if you don't want to deal with RNG, you can change up your build a little bit to sort of avoid just the RNG aspect and sort of get away from Knockout King, since you won't be having Lady Luck Barrage. And to do this, all you really have to do is change your headpiece to the Shroud headpiece and your gloves to Nasher. This will pretty much get rid of the need to have KOK. You'll just get rid of that, and you'll replace it with Rage Hunter. So now you'll have real damage, and you won't have to rely on getting the modifier or the amplifier if you don't want to have to do that. So here are your options for that. And when you do swap your builds, you can swap your Assault Tonic to an Aether Draft Tonic. So you're going away from stagger damage to Lantern Generation for that tonic slot. Moving swiftly onwards to the second build, I'll be using a different special and some different cell perks as well. So I'll be changing my special from Titan's Crash to Adamant Bolt. This is done because Adamant Bolt is actually a ton of fun. This is just a really nutty special to be using. It's not as good as Titan's Crash, but it is more fun to me personally, because using this like just giant laser beam to break parts from pretty far away or to break parts from behemoths going in the air just feels really fun. It just feels really good. It's just really enjoyable. Now, as far as the armor goes, I'll have the Hellion headpiece, the Shroud chest piece, Nasher gloves, Boreas feet, and also I'll have the Drask Lantern. Just again, big damage. That's my main goal. And as far as the perk summary goes, I'll have +6 Iceborne, Overpower, Rage, and Rage Hunter, with +3 Berserker. I can't scroll down. This is tilt me. Conditioning, Wild Frenzy, and Zeal. So, you might be noticing I don't have any discipline in this build. Well, it's not really necessary, and the only reason you really need it in Blaze Escalation is if you're worried that your teammates will probably heal you and bring you above the low life threshold for Rage or Wild Frenzy if you have it. If you're not worried about that, or if you're playing solo, then you don't really need to bring Discipline, and you can instead bring another perk to help you out with just more damage or more attack speed, something of the nature. So in this case, if you guys have played Monster Hunter World, you'll know that they have a cell called Flinch Free. Discipline in this case is the equivalent of that cell. If you're playing in a group, it's probably a good idea to bring Discipline, just like it's a good idea to bring Flinch Free in Monster Hunter World. So that's my comparison there. Now, this build has a lot of damage. I enjoyed it a lot. It is a really good time, and you can actually use this exact same build for the other special you're using for Titan's Crash. You can use whatever you want, right? But I just like using this build for the Adamant Bolt because there's no real goal of doing stagger damage at all. So this build is just here for sniping behemoth parts and enjoying that. And it is just a ton of fun to do that with. Like, just breaking parts. When behemoths have weak spots as a modifier, you're doing upwards of like 14,000 damage with a bolt, and I think on like an additional like 5k when you actually break it. It's just so good. Like, it's enjoyable, it's fun, it's a good time, and it is, like I said, really good at getting Trogador's head break. It's not the best at getting it, but strikers are still really strong. They are a blunt weapon, so you can do whatever you want. Whenever Trogador has his little rock gauntlets on, you won't have your damage reduced. So there's a solid pick on Trogadoro, like, overall. And they also give you the ability to get the head break without really having to try too hard. I think it takes around 3 beams if you have a decent amount of cells, some decent, some good cells, and you just have some potions going. And speaking of potions, for this build, I suggest using the Aether Drive Tonic, Blitz Tonic, and Frenzy Tonic. Pretty standard stuff right there, and just go ham with that. If you guys don't want to use the Cell Berserker, by the way, it's been in both these builds, you can swap it to Evasive Fury, swap it to Wild Frenzy, you can do whatever you want to, because this cell will reduce your health by, I think, 150 at +3, but the benefit is you get 20% extra damage. So I just want to make that clear. If you don't like having your health being a bit lower, which some of y'all might not want to if you don't have enough power boosts, which, by the way, again, power boosts increase your damage and also increase your damage reduction in escalation. There are 3 total power boosts. Getting all 3 make you pretty tanky, and they make it really hard to get one shot in most scenarios. So I just want to make that really clear there. Anyway, guys, that's the build. Hopefully, or like that's the builds, plural. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you followed along. If you didn't, there'll be some builds in the description. Pretty much all this stuff I just said right now, just in the description. You can pick up if you want to and have fun with that. If you guys liked the video, make sure to like, maybe comment, perhaps subscribe. All these things help the channel a ton. I'll be making some, more build videos in the future, and I'm looking to sort of cover some new games in the future as well, whenever new ones sort of come out. But if you guys want to support my channel and me, it's the same thing. Be sure to use my Epic Games Super code, which is OhDough in the Epic Games Store or in the in-game Dauntless Store. Doing either one of those gives me a small kickback on what you spend, and it helps me out immensely. So thank you very much to everyone who's been doing that. I appreciate it very much. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.